At Northwood Middle School, the Thursday morning air hummed with the usual organized chaos. Sunlight slanted across the worn asphalt of the bus loop, where groaning vehicles disgorged a river of students. 13-year-old Lena Morales, however, didn't flow with that current. She sat quietly near the sprawling oak by the main entrance, her wheelchair a familiar silhouette against the backdrop of teenage energy. Lena, who navigated the world on wheels due to a congenital condition affecting her mobility, was bright, her answers in class thoughtful, and her laugh, when it surfaced, could warm a room. Still, that rarely stopped students like Jared Vance from seeing her as less, as other. Jared, Northwood's cocky football captain, built like a fledgling titan and hailing from a family whose name was already etched onto a plaque in the school gymnasium, had a particular disdain for anyone who didn't fit his narrow definition of normal. He didn't need to voice it. The sneers, the deliberately obstructed hallways, the mimicry of her chair's occasional squeak, they spoke volumes. That morning, as Lena maneuvered towards the front ramp, her path was suddenly barred. Jared, flanked by his usual shadows, Kyle and Nash, stood with folded arms, their expressions a mixture of boredom and contempt. Before we witness this powerful stand against injustice and the extraordinary courage it ignites, hit subscribe and ring that bell, because stories of resilience and change like this deserve to be heard, shared, and celebrated. Well, well, Kyle drawled, flicking the rubber trim of Lena's wheel with a grimy finger. Look who's trying to make a grand entrance, Nash snickered. Lena's hands tightened on her push rims, her gaze fixed straight ahead, a silent refusal to engage. Come on, Vance, Nash urged his leader. Let's not be late because of this. Jared stepped forward, a cruel smirk twisting his lips. You're right, path needs clearing. But instead of moving aside, he bent down, grabbed the front of Lena's lightweight chair, and with a sudden, vicious jerk, tilted it backward. Lena cried out, arms flailing as the chair tipped, then crashed onto its side with a sickening thud that seemed to momentarily suck the air from the bustling entrance. For an instant, the chatter died. Then it was replaced by a smattering of cruel laughter. A few students covered their mouths, eyes wide with discomfort. Others simply turned away, hastening their steps into the building. No one moved to help. Lena lay on the hard ground, her backpack half dislodged, notebooks and pens scattered around her like shrapnel. She didn't cry, didn't scream. She just stared up at the indifferent blue sky, a silent testament to a familiar, painful indignity. But someone did move. Maya Rivers had just disembarked from Bus 7, her headphones still around her neck. She saw the horrifying tableau. Lena sprawled, the triumphant grin on Jared's face as he high-fived Kyle, the averted gazes of the crowd. A cold, hard anger ignited within Maya, a quiet fire that few ever witnessed until it blazed. She wasn't a star athlete or a class president. She was observant, thoughtful, and possessed a steel spine many underestimated. Without a second thought, she pushed through the gawking onlookers. Kneeling beside Lena, Maya's voice was low but firm. Lena, are you hurt? Lena, startled, managed a shaky nod, her lips pressed into a thin, pale line. Maya gently helped her sit up, then with surprising strength, maneuvered her back into the uprighted wheelchair, her eyes briefly noting a fresh scrape on Lena's elbow. Straightening to her full height, not towering but radiating an undeniable presence, Maya turned her gaze directly on to Jared Vance. You find that amusing? Her voice, though not loud, cut through the lingering snickers like a shard of ice. Jared, surprised by the direct challenge, turned. Mind your own damn business, Rivers. Kyle and Nash postured beside him. Yeah, what are you, her personal bodyguard now? Nash jeered. Maya didn't flinch. When someone gets hurt because of cowards like you, it becomes everyone's business. The surrounding students began to murmur, shifting uncomfortably. Just then, Mr. Henderson, the chronically late hall monitor, finally jogged over, his expression bewildered. What's all the commotion here? But before anyone could answer, Jared and his crew had vanished into the surge of students entering the school, leaving Lena shaken, Maya resolute, and the air thick with an ugly, unresolved tension. The bell shrilled, and the incident was momentarily swallowed by the demands of first period. But Maya couldn't shake the image of Lena's fall, nor the sting of Jared's arrogance. What she also knew was that this very afternoon, Northwood Middle School was hosting its annual Bridgebuilder Games, a day of team building exercises, obstacle courses, and so called unity challenges designed to promote inclusion, mandated by the regional school board. The entire school, including teachers and even some parent volunteers, would be out on the athletic fields. An idea began to form in Maya's mind, sharp and clear. During homeroom, she approached Ms. Diaz, her thoughtful history teacher. "Ms. Diaz," Maya began, her tone polite but firm, "I'd like to make a request for the Bridgebuilder Games this afternoon. I want to be on Jared Vance's team, and I want to be the team leader." Ms. Diaz blinked, her eyebrows rising. "Are you quite sure about that, Maya? That's an unusual request given Jared." Maya nodded, her gaze unwavering. "Positive. I think it's important." Ms. Diaz studied her for a long moment, then gave a slow nod. "All right, Maya. I'll speak to Coach Donovan. We'll see what can be arranged." Coach Donovan, a man who valued fairness and had a keen eye for subtle school dynamics, proved instrumental in navigating the complexities of team assignments. By lunchtime, the pieces were quietly falling into place. The afternoon sun beat down on Northwood's sprawling athletic fields, transforming the green expanse into a vibrant arena of activity. And teachers in brightly colored vests set up cones, ropes, and puzzling contraptions for the Bridgebuilder Games. Loud, upbeat music blared from speakers. Jared Vance, Kyle, and Nash, all wearing identical royal blue team shirts, stood near the starting line, arms crossed, radiating their usual air of bored superiority. Then their team leader was announced. Maya Rivers stepped forward, a clipboard in one hand, her expression cool and unreadable. She looked directly at Jared. "Our team has a shot at winning this, Vance," she said, her voice carrying over the excited chatter. "Today's challenge is about cooperation, sure, but let's make it truly interesting." Her eyes gleamed with a spark of something Jared couldn't quite decipher. "The final event is a complex obstacle relay. Winning team members each get an invitation to the superintendent's commendation breakfast next month, significant for high school applications." She paused. "Losing team spends the next 2 weeks cleaning out and replanting the school's overgrown eco-garden, under supervision." A ripple of murmurs went through the nearby teams. The eco-garden was a notoriously messy, thankless job. Jared's eyes narrowed into slits. The commendation breakfast was a notable honor, one his father would expect him to aim for. The eco-garden was unthinkable. "You're on, Rivers," he sneered, a competitive fire overriding his disdain for her. "Prepare to get your hands dirty." Maya simply smiled, a faint, knowing curve of her lips. "We'll see." Nearly an hour later, after a series of demanding team challenges, the final obstacle relay began. It was a grueling course testing speed, agility, and problem-solving. Teams were neck and neck. Jared, fueled by a potent cocktail of ego and raw athleticism, ran his leg of the relay with a desperate intensity, tagging Kyle, who tagged Nash. Finally, their team reached the last station, panting and sweat-soaked. The twist: one teammate had to be pushed in a wheelchair through a short, specially designed, uneven course, navigating around cones and over small bumps while holding a baton. Maya's voice cut through Jared's ragged breathing. "Vance, you're pushing." He stared at her, incredulous. "What? Who?" Maya nodded towards the side, where Lena Morales waited, now wearing a light green team shirt that made her look even more fragile, her scraped elbow neatly bandaged. Her expression was calm, almost serene. She wheeled herself expertly to the starting line of the final segment. Jared's face contorted in disbelief, then fury. "You can't be serious, Rivers. She'll slow us DMing down." "Rules state a one teammate rides, another pushes," Maya said, her voice like steel. "Lena's our designated rider for this leg, and you're the freshest strong player. Let's go. The other teams are catching up." The crowd, sensing the underlying drama, grew quiet. Teachers leaned in. Coach Donovan blew the whistle. With a muttered curse, Jared grabbed the handles of Lena's chair. The course, designed to simulate accessibility challenges, was rougher than it looked. The chair jolted, threatening to tip. Steady, Lena said calmly from the seat, her voice clear. Angle slightly left on this next bump. Jared, gritting his teeth, almost ignored her, then found himself instinctively adjusting, the instruction proving correct. He had to actually listen, to coordinate, to trust her subtle shifts in balance. It was an alien, uncomfortable experience. As they navigated the final turn and crossed the finish line, Lena holding the baton high, a split second of stunned silence hung over the field. Then, applause erupted. Not a polite smattering, but a genuine rolling wave of appreciation, first from the teachers, then spreading through the students. They had won. Jared Vance stood behind Lena's wheelchair, hands still gripping the handles, his chest heaving, not just from exertion, but from a bewildering mix of emotions. The usual smirk was gone, replaced by a look of stunned silence, his gaze fixed on Lena's straight, resilient back. For the first time that day, perhaps for the first time in a long while, a sliver of something like shame, or at least profound confusion, flickered in his eyes. The victory glow was short-lived for Maya. Later that afternoon, she, along with a quiet but composed Lena, sat in Principal Thorne's office. Ms. Diaz was also present. The relay was a vivid demonstration, Maya. Principal Thorne, a stocky man with graying temples and a reputation for listening more than he spoke, began. But I trust that wasn't the entirety of your plan. Maya took a breath. No, sir, it wasn't. What happened on the field was a small piece. The bigger issue, the one that really matters, is what happened this morning. Lena was assaulted, and most of the school either laughed or did nothing. That's not unity. That's complicity. Lena nodded silently, her hands clasped in her lap. The Bridgebuilder Games are supposed to be about respect, Maya continued. But respect isn't about a one-day event. It's about what happens every day, in the hallways, when no one official is watching. We want to talk to the school about that, about what it really means to stand up, to speak out. Principal Thorne leaned forward, his gaze steady. What are you proposing specifically, Ms. Rivers, Ms. Morales? Next week is the Stand Up, Speak Out assembly, Maya stated. Give us 10 minutes. Let Lena and me address the students, not to point fingers, but to start a real conversation about what true respect and inclusion look like at Northwood. The following Tuesday, the Northwood Middle School gymnasium buzzed with the restless energy of hundreds of students. The Stand Up, Speak Out assembly was usually a predictable affair. Announcements, awards, a motivational speech from a teacher that most students tuned out. But today, after the preliminaries, Principal Thorne stepped to the microphone. Before we conclude, he announced, his voice resonating through the gym, 2 of your fellow students have something important they wish to share. A murmur rippled through the bleachers. Maya Rivers and Lena Morales moved towards the center of the basketball court. Maya walked with quiet confidence. Lena maneuvered her chair with practiced grace. A hush fell as Maya took the microphone. Most of you saw something happen near the front entrance last Thursday morning, Maya began, her voice steady and clear, neither accusatory nor timid. Some of you laughed, some of you looked away. Some of you probably didn't even register it as anything important. But here's what you need to understand. Lena didn't fall just because she's in a wheelchair. She fell because someone, and the silence of others, made her a target. The silence in the gym was now absolute. Even the faculty looked on with a mixture of apprehension and intense focus. We talk a lot about kindness and inclusion at Northwood, Maya continued. We have posters in the hallways, but those words mean nothing if we aren't brave enough to live them when it counts, especially when it's uncomfortable. She paused, then turned slightly, offering the microphone to Lena. Lena took a steadying breath, her soft voice amplified across the packed bleachers. My name is Lena Morales, she said, her gaze sweeping across the sea of young faces. I've used a wheelchair my entire life because of a condition I was born with. Most days, it's just a part of me, like the color of my eyes. But last Thursday, I was reminded of what some people still see first. A difference, a perceived weakness, something to mock. Her voice trembled almost imperceptibly, but she pressed on, her quiet strength filling the space. But here's what they didn't see. What many of you don't see. You don't see the hours I spend in physical therapy, fighting for every inch of independence. You don't see my mother working 2 jobs to make sure my chair is maintained, my medical needs met. You don't see the nights I've spent figuring out on my own how to get back up after a fall when no one is around. She paused, letting her words sink in. What they saw was a girl falling. But what I want all of you to see, now and always, is a girl who always gets back up. A person who deserves the same respect, the same space, as anyone else in this school. The silence that followed was thick with unspoken emotions. Then, a single clap. Another. And then it grew. A wave of applause. Not of pity, but of genuine, dawning respect, washing over the gymnasium. Jared Vance sat alone in the upper bleachers, his face unreadable. Later that day, he found Maya and Lena sitting together in the common area near the school's newly installed digital archives center. He approached them awkwardly, hands shoved deep in his pockets. He began, scratching the back of his neck. That stuff this morning, I was out of line. For real. I'm sorry, Lena. Lena looked up at him, her expression calm, searching. I forgive you, Jared, she said finally, her voice even. But I don't need your sorrow. I need you to do better. We all do. Jared nodded, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. Yeah, okay. Something shifted at Northwood Middle School after that assembly. It wasn't instantaneous, not a magical transformation, but the air in the hallways felt different. A few more students instinctively held doors open for Lena. Lunchtime saw new faces joining her and Maya at their usual table. Principal Thorne, true to his word, established the Hearthstone Circle, a weekly student-led forum for open and honest conversations about school culture, fears, and how to foster genuine inclusivity. Maya, unsurprisingly, was asked to co-lead its inaugural sessions. As the school year drew to a close, Maya had another idea. The Spring Talent Showcase, she said to Lena one afternoon. Let's do something together, something powerful. Lena, initially hesitant about being on stage, was eventually persuaded. They spent weeks after school in the library, crafting a spoken word piece. On the night of the showcase, the gym was packed. Maya stepped out first, her eyes scanning the audience. They told me quiet girls don't start revolutions. Her voice rang out, clear and bold. That silence was softness, that stillness was weakness. But I've seen storms in still water, and I've watched thunder roll in on wheels. Lena, positioned beside her, picked up the thread, her voice softer but no less commanding. I've been invisible and unavoidable. I've been a punchline and a question mark. But now I am the period at the end of your assumptions. Their words wove together, a fierce, eloquent duet of truth and resilience. The applause that followed was thunderous, sustained. Over the summer, a new mural appeared in a prominent Northwood corridor, an initiative driven by Maya and the Hearthstone Circle members, painted by art students. It depicted 2 figures, one standing, one seated in a wheelchair, both looking forward with unflinching gazes. Above them, in bold, elegant script, were the words, Dignity demands action. Lena transitioned to Silver Creek High in the fall, where she quickly found her place in a vibrant creative writing program, her voice blossoming. Maya remained at Northwood, spearheading new equity initiatives. They kept their pact, checking in, sharing their triumphs and challenges, their bond a testament to the strength forged in adversity. Years later, long after the paint on the mural had faded and been refreshed, the story of Lena Morales and Maya Rivers lived on at Northwood Middle School, a powerful reminder that courage isn't always loud, that true strength often rolls rather than roars, and that sometimes, when the world is watching, it rises together, demanding change and forging a better way forward. If Lena and Maya's powerful stand for respect and change inspired you, please drop a like. Subscribe for more incredible stories of courage and transformation, and share a time when you saw someone stand up and make a real difference in the comments below.